We're going to start. Well, welcome, guys and gals. Those that are at home, please make sure you're muted so we don't see you at any random point talking if you do not wish to be seen. Cool. So today we're going to do align and holds, and we're going to do a different variation of align and holds, and we're going to see how it goes. So Erica made the request a while ago to include some balances, and we're going to see how that goes. Our topic for today is self-care, but we'll see how we manage that once we get there. So just as with all things, you've got the first 2 to 3 minutes to do whatever you wish to do. So I'm going to encourage you, especially those of you that have tight hip flexors, to do a few little lunges, little Anjane Asana type of things, maybe some twists or anything that feels good to you. But you're just going to start by coming into some type of relationship, some type of contact with your body at this moment in time. And we'll just see how, I know it's hilarious, but that's totally fine. You're just, oh, sorry, Roberta. You're just gonna see how things are feeling in your bodies, how you're connecting with yourself. And this line of inquiry about self-care sort of came about, really, I was going to Roberta's Minion group again this week, and I was struck by the line that love isn't always lovely. And it was such an interesting thought to me because, you know, a lot of times myself specifically, I think of love as this like yummy, gooey thing that, oh, you know it when you know it. And it's supposed to be fantastical and rainbows and unicorns and all these other things. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's tough love. Sometimes it's speaking up. Sometimes it's holding back. And we're just going to allow ourselves to use our practice as the opportunity to practice some self-love, both in the mama bear, papa bear type of way, as well as in that gentle, nurturing, nourishing type of way. So you've got about another minute and a half. I encourage you to continue to explore how the body is feeling now. And for today's practice, really doing a few little lunges on each side would be really helpful. But again, you do what you feel you need to do. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're going to see how your body's doing and how you're doing, and just let that be okay. And we'll start by noticing that now that we have about 1 more minute to do whatever you're doing, if you've done something asymmetrical, you might want to visit the other side. Just 1 more minute. And you'll just see how that's going. Awesome sauce. So you've got about another 20 seconds. So we're going to set ourselves up for child's pose, but you continue to do whatever you need to in the next few breath cycles. And for today, I would like to encourage a child's pose once you finally get there to perhaps use your blocks at the top of your space. And we'll set ourselves up by widening our knees a little hip distance apart, pressing your bum back towards your heels. And then you're going to walk one elbow and then the other forward onto your blocks. And maybe walk your elbows a little further forward as your forehead starts to descend between your arms. And then you'll notice if you can take a few breaths here to just find extra length and extra space through the spine. And we'll press our hands into each other, press our pelvis down to our hips, and take 3 audible breaths here. And you're just allowing that exhale to be as loud as it needs to be, the inhale to be as soft as it wishes to be. And then very gently, after this 3rd exhalation, start to close your lips, tone the back of the throat, and invite in your Ujjayi pranayama. Now, as you continue to remain connected to your breath, I'd like you to bring your awareness to your heart space. So for today, we're working with a very specific breath. You'll imagine or sense that you breathe into your heart and the energy goes up and down simultaneously. It goes front and back, right to left. And as you exhale, the energy travels from your pelvis back towards the heart. So every breath that we take, it's inhaling into the heart and extending that energy every direction, and then exhaling from the pelvis and coming back up. And you've got about 2 more steady breath cycles here, just noticing what that feels like. Breathing into the heart, up, down, right, left, front, back, and then exhaling from the pelvis and coming up. And as you take this last long, continuous breath cycle here, the invitation is to start to notice where you can find first stability in the body. Find stability in the breath, and then notice where you can soften, where you can open, where you can find a little bit more ease. So we're allowing ourselves, as we're here for these last 10 seconds or so, to notice how we can show up for ourselves to be loving, even if it always doesn't feel lovely. Sometimes that may mean that we need to back off. Sometimes it may mean that we need to press forward. Only you can know how you need to be loved moment by moment, breath by breath. Awesome sauce. All right, let's go ahead and inhale and come forward. Go ahead and plant your hands onto the mat. Draw your knees back together so they're hip distance apart. And you're just going to inhale into a baby cow shape and exhale, press back into a baby cat shape. And you've just got 3 of these. Seeing if the breath can stay as slow and as long and as deep as you just had it. And then noticing if you can still stay with that breath. So it breathes into the heart first and expands everywhere. And then it exhales and returns up towards the heart space. Yep, 1 more. And slow exhale. Nice job, guys. Go ahead and inhale, come back to that cow shape pose. As you exhale, tuck the toes under if they're not. Start to press your pelvis up and back, downward facing dog. And we're going to stay here for our first hold here. So let's press down through the index fingers and thumbs. Lift up through your inner armpits and lift your outer hips up. Yep, send your inner thighs back, and then you can start to reach your heels towards the floor. And then let's just come back to that breath. So every inhale, you're breathing into the heart, extending down and up and out all at the same time. And every exhale, you're drawing that energy back up the spine towards the heart. And we're just going to allow ourselves to notice. We're consciously sending prana into our heart. We're sending our intention, our energy, our breath into the heart space so that we can start to notice how we need to nurture and nourish ourselves. I think of self-love not always being lovely, like doing our taxes. Nobody really wants to do their taxes, but nobody wants to go to jail either. So it's an act of self-love of just doing your taxes. We're kind of doing our taxes. We're flossing our teeth. We're brushing our teeth. And you've got about another minute or so here. So again, focus on the breath. The breath is coming into the heart. It's going up, it's going down. And as you exhale, it's drawing from the base of the pelvis up. You're feeling the slight mula bandha, the navel engage. You've got 3 more steady breaths here, and just observe and notice how the breath is working here. Notice how the breath is working now. See if you can continue to hear the breath. See if you can continue to receive the breath. Last breath cycle here. Nice job, guys. Go ahead and inhale, come forward, Falakasana plank pose. Lower the knees if need be, or lower the forearms if need be. But we're going to be in plank, and we're going to pause here. First things first, push down through the hands. Yep. Lift up through your happy inner thighs and send your tailbone back. Now, keep lifting up through those inner armpits by pushing down so much through the floor, and then reach your sternum forward and your tailbone back. And now that breath cycle comes back into play here. So inhaling into heart, sending that energy down and up, right, left, front, back, and exhale from the pelvis all the way back up towards the heart space. And it might not get there at first. It might stop at the navel. That's a perfectly amazing place for it to stop. But you're focusing on sending the breath into the heart first, inhaling, expanding, and exhaling, hugging everything back in and up. You've got about another 3 breath cycles here. Just observe and notice how this is feeling. Head stay lifted, heart stay open. Yep. Last 2 breath cycles. Big, big breaths. Yep. Nice job, guys. Last big breath in cycle. And exhale, lower all the way down to your bellies. Go ahead and pause. Take a moment to breathe. Go ahead and sweep the arms back once you're down, and you're just going to take a moment to pause here. Sometimes self-love, loving ourselves, is taking a break. I was very inspired this week by Simone Biles. I became obsessed with her actually, and listening to her sort of withdraw from the Olympics, I was like, oh my God, why would she do that? But it was an act of self-love. It wasn't always a loving thing to do, but it was something that she needed to do. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Separate your feet about hip distance apart. Bring your hands so the palms face down alongside your hips. And then let's start by pressing down into your big toenails and your pinky toenails. Lengthening your tailbone back a lot until it feels like your low back lengthens, and then pull those kneecaps up and away from the floor. Great. From here, you'll draw your shoulders up towards your ears. Draw the shoulder blades onto the back, and imagine that for some reason you're squeezing a beach ball with your elbows behind you. Hug those elbows towards each other. Great. From there, inhale, reach your heart and sternum forward. Awesome sauce. And you'll exhale, reach back through the tailbone even more. Draw the low belly in. Great. We're going to take 3 breath cycles here. Again, heart first. So breathe into the heart, reaching forward and back, right to left. Exhale, energy comes from the pelvis back up towards the navel. Nice job. 2 more just like that. Inhale into heart, front, back, right, left. And exhale, pelvis comes all the way up. Nice job. Last one, big breath here. Heart forward, back, right, left. Yep. Exhale, pelvis all the way up. Great. We've got 1 more minute here. If you're happy as a clam here, keep your feet pressing into the floor. Otherwise, inhale, reach back through the toes, float them up and away from the floor. You might then reach the hands up and away from the floor, but you're still hugging those shoulders onto the back, the elbows onto the back, and the breath is still coming into the heart first. So you're breathing into the heart. It's going forward, back, right, left. That creates the buoyancy to lift a little higher. And then that exhale from the pelvis all the way up is creating stability in the low back. It's creating stability mostly around what is our second chakra area. And so you've got 2 more breath cycles here, hugging those elbows towards each other, hugging the shoulder blades onto the back, seeing if you can lift just an inch higher with this inhalation. Nice job. And on your next exhalation, you'll slowly lower all the way back down to the floor and take a moment to pause. Sometimes self-love is pressing ourselves just a little bit more, and sometimes it's opening our hearts, softening some of our defenses, and trying something new. All right, bring the opposite ear to the mat if you've got one ear to the mat. And you just have 3 more breath cycles here. See if you can stay with that breath. Let it be constant, let it be consistent. Great. 1 more breath cycle. And then let's go ahead and add on. Bring your hands alongside your lowest ribs. Tuck your toes under, yogi's choice. Knees can stay down or they can lift up. You'll draw the shoulders onto your back. You'll lift your ears in line with your tops of your shoulders. And then again, still inhaling into heart, extending in all directions. Exhale, low belly to spine. Press through the floor, come up through chaturanga into plank. And you're going to hold here for your next minute. Hold, and you're just going to pause, and you're just going to breathe, and you're going to notice what you notice here. So really sending the energy into the heart and then sending it down, up, right, left, front, and back is allowing the energy to come into our heart space. And then what we're doing is we're working on a practice that my teacher calls a healing practice. So sending the breath in this way from the heart everywhere and then from the pelvis up is starting to cultivate where we need healing most. Our self-love, just like Kristen Neff talks about self-compassion, is sometimes a soft, yummy, gooey thing, but sometimes it's a fierce, intense, yes, I got this type of thing. But both are needed, both are required. So you got 1 more long, steady breath cycle here. Awesome sauce. At the end of your next exhalation, lower your knees to the mat. Nice job. Step your right foot forward between your hands. With the right foot stepped forward, tuck the back toes long, straighten the back leg long, and lift it up and away from the floor. Sorry, other way, Sandy. There you go. And then you're going to pause here. You're going to draw that outer right hip back. You're going to lift up through that inner left thigh. And again, heart is the focus. So inhaling into the heart, extending it every direction, keeping it open, keeping it buoyant. And then the exhale is drawing from the pelvis all the way back up. Yep. One more breath cycle here. Nice job. Go ahead and spin your back foot to the floor. Bring both hands to the inside edge of your front foot. Maybe front hand comes onto a block. Maybe it doesn't. But then you'll bring your left hand to your left hip. Spin your chest over towards the left, stacking right shoulder on top of left hip, pressing that down into left foot, and then seeing if the heart can open just a little bit more. From there, reach back through the left arm, swim the arm up and overhead along the horizon. And here's our next shape. So we're going to hold this one for a bit of time. And what my encouragement to you is to notice if you can first push down into your feet, hug your legs together so the arms are not pushing into the knees necessarily or collapsing in, but the legs are holding themselves and the heart is still radiating to the left and open. Yep. And then again, that breath is going to be really important here. So breathe into your heart, extend down, extend up, and then exhale from your pelvis back up towards your heart. And you're just going to take these breath cycles here. That top arm is going to talk to you, and you're going to keep sending the energy back towards the heart. Notice what you notice. Long, steady, smooth breaths. Seeing if you can remain pretty still in the shape. Nice job. You've got about 3 more steady breath cycles here. Keep pressing into the legs. Keep the breath smooth and easy, and then notice where you can soften in your pose. Sometimes self-love is setting boundaries, and you're just noticing what you notice in this moment. Nice job. Last breath cycle here. Awesome sauce. Inhale, turn your gaze to the floor. Plant both palms, come to a low lunge. Step yourself back, fall in Kasana plank pose. 1 minute hold. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're going to notice what you notice here. Again, that breath is in the heart. So it comes into the heart, extends down, it extends up. And as you exhale, it comes back up. It's an invitation that we keep coming back to so we can anchor ourselves in this moment and allow that to be sufficient. And we've got 2 more steady breath cycles here. You're doing great. You're doing great. Keep breathing. Last big breath cycle here. The end of your next exhalation, lower your knees back down to the mat. Pause. Step that left leg long and forward, low lunge. And then when you're ready, you'll tuck the back toes under and straighten the back leg long and just pause here. Notice if your feet are as long as you'd like them to be. And then we'll press down into our right, or rather left foot. Draw that outer left hip back. Yep, lift up through your inner right thigh. And then find the heart reaching forward, radiating forward. So if hands on blocks would be very helpful here, that is completely okay. But you're again just staying with your breath. You're noticing what you notice here. How can we find length? How can we find spaciousness? Sometimes self-love is giving ourselves a little bit of a new experience or a little bit of a break. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and bring both hands to the inside edge of your left foot. Spin your right foot completely to the floor. Left hand might come to a block. It might stay on the floor. Draw your right hand to your right hip. So Roberta, spin right foot to the floor. Yep. And then from here, reach back through your right hand and then swim it along the horizon until it's over your head. First things first, press down into both feet, hug your feet together, and then notice if you're just hanging out in your joints or if you're pulling the legs in, activating them out in order to find that spaciousness. Yep. And then notice if that left rib cage can round or wrap under so the right rib cage can open up. And we've got our last about 45 seconds or so on this side. And your attention, your focus is on the breath. So you're breathing into heart, sending it down and up, and then from the pelvis up. Nice job, guys. Keep breathing, keeping the stability in the legs. Yep. Last 2 breath cycles here. Big, big, steady breaths. See if you can keep the body still. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and inhale, turn to face the front of your mat, come to a low lunge, step to the top of your space, Uttanasana, forward fold. And once you get there, highly encourage you to take one of your blocks and slide it in between your shin bones on the first or the second setting, whatever feels good for you. And you're just going to take a moment to pause here, sending your weight forward just a little bit so it's balanced over the heels. And then let's bring our hands to our low back. This is an option. Interlace your hands at the low back. And then you're going to draw your shoulders up towards your ears, draw the shoulder blades onto the back, and first reach your hands up. And they might just stay right there. The hands might go up and over your head, but if you choose to take that option, you're still drawing the shoulder blades away from your ears. You're squeezing into your happy little block and you're letting your head dangle, and you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. Self-love in this moment might be a deeper breath. Sometimes it's that momentary reprieve where we let out a loud, audible exhale. And sometimes it's that momentary reprieve when we take in a big, nourishing inhalation. It doesn't have to look one particular way. What we're trying to do is get our particular needs met using a variety of different strategies. We've got about 3 more breath cycles here. Shoulder blades are still hugging onto back, shoulders away from ears. Yep. Last 2 breath cycles here. Still breathing into heart, down to pelvis, up to crown, and then exhaling from pelvis up. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and bring your hands back to your hips. Slide them down your legs and to the floor. And then inhale, slide those hands up your shin bones, lift your spine parallel-ish to the floor. Send your pubic bone back, the shoulders away from the ears, and press your hands, or rather your hands back, your shins forward. Then take a big breath in here. You stay with your breath. Hands come to the hips, maybe together or one at a time. From here, inhale. Exhale, bend your knees, keep the spine parallel-ish to the floor. And then next in-breath, bring the spine to vertical, reach the arms forward perhaps, and maybe up and overhead for Utkatasana, chair pose. And you're gonna pause and you're gonna breathe. And we're gonna see what we can notice here. So we're paying attention to how we can root ourselves. Sometimes self-love is finding a lot of grounding. It's finding a foundation. Sometimes it's finding a lift. Sometimes it's finding an opening. And you're just gonna notice what's happening to the breath. So again, we're staying with that pranayama. You're breathing into the heart, sending it down and up, and you're exhaling and drawing it straight back in and up. And you're just gonna notice what you notice. How is the breath? Where is the gaze? What is the mind doing? Sometimes self-love is reigning in the mind. Okay, you've got about another minute. See if you can continue to breathe deeply. If you can soften any tension around your face. And then just observe and notice. Can the breath still come into the heart? Can it go down and up simultaneously? And then can you exhale and pull that back up? Nice job, guys. You got your last 3 breath cycles here. Last 2 breath cycles, big, steady, even breath. Last one. Good job, guys. Next inhalation, stand up, reach up, look up. Happy days, we're done with that. And you're just gonna lower the tailbone down, draw the low belly in, and hands will come to heart center or release alongside your hips. Eyes maybe softly close or drop towards the floor more inward. But you're gonna just take 3 steady breath cycles here. And again, we're breathing into the heart. So it's going heart up, down, right, left, back, front. And then it's coming back from the pelvis and coming up. And you're just noticing what that energy does here, what that energy does now. How can we infuse ourselves to support ourselves for the lives that we wish to live, for becoming the people that we wish to be? Awesome sauce. Go ahead and open your eyes if they're closed. Remove your block. And here comes our first balancing pose. So people online, I'm sorry, but you missed me telling them this. Erica wanted us to do a balancing pose. So we're going to do some balancing poses today. And she said she's sorry in advance. So we're going to shift all of our weight over to our right foot. Hands can either come to hips or hands can come to heart center, whatever is going to work best for you, but you're going to lift your left leg up. Flex through that left foot and drawing that leg as close as possible towards your chest using those fun abdominal muscles, hip flexors that we worked just a little bit earlier. And you're going to see if this is going to work for you. And if so, by all means, stay here. Otherwise, you're going to externally rotate that leg. Perhaps grab your left foot and either plant the left foot on the inside edge of right thigh. It might be on the calf or it might be on the floor. But then hands are either going to stay on hips or hands going to come to heart center. But you're going to pick one point for your gaze to rest. And then that breath coming into the heart, going down and up is really going to be your anchoring point. And then the exhale to draw it back up will stabilize the core. So we're going to see how this goes. And wobbles are okay. Wobbles are going to happen, but you want to notice how you're breathing. How are you stabilizing yourself, finding love? Even if you fall out, you come back in. That's okay. Self-love is readjusting. Sometimes it's trying something new and sometimes it's trying it again. You've got 3 more steady breath cycles here. Notice what you notice. So the inner left thigh is lengthening away. The outer left hip is hugging in. Outer right hip is hugging in. You're pausing and you're breathing, and that right foot's working a lot. My hyperextenders, slight bend into that right knee so it doesn't lock out. It'll help us not get dizzy later. And here's your last breath cycle here. And then gently, you're going to release just that left foot to the floor, come back to stand and just notice, pause for a moment in stillness and notice what the hell is happening between those 2 legs. Your right leg is probably saying, what the heck did we just do? And we're going to see how this goes on. So you're going to shift your weight now over to your left leg. Hands come either to hips or to heart center. Flex through that right foot. Option to stay right here. Happy days as a clam. Otherwise, you'll extend or externally rotate that leg. Maybe grab the right ankle and plant the right foot. Maybe on the left thigh, maybe on the left calf, maybe it's on the floor. But then bring your hands to wherever you feel like you can help maintain your balance, your core. Sometimes love is really integrating, coming back to what is our foundation. It might not be extending and doing all the crazy things that are happening around us or that we're being driven to do, but it's just noticing what our truth is and coming back to and honoring that unique need. And so we've got about another 4 steady breath cycles here. Wobbles are okay. Notice if you came out that you can come back in. That's also an act of self-love. And wherever you can be, there you go. See if you can keep the gaze steady. If you can keep the heart open, and the breath is your anchor. The breath is your anchor. We're feeding our heart. We've got the potential to grow and be whomever we wish to be. And nurturance, in whatever form it may alternate, is the best way to get there. Okay, here's our last breath cycle here. Awesome sauce. Gently release that foot. Go ahead and stand at the top of your space and just notice. Lower the hands alongside the hips, softly close the eyes for a moment. And then you're just going to breathe. How's the breath? Let the breath regulate. Let it become more constant, more stable, more consistent. And then we're going to add on. So just go ahead and fold forward at your hips. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Plant your hands, step yourself back to plank pose. From plank pose, lower your knees to the mat. Lower your spine to the mat. All the way down. Okay, and this is everyone's favorite pose to hate, but you're going to enjoy this. Bring your forearms forward into a Sphinx pose. I want you to first engage with your legs in the back. So pressing down through the toes, having them as wide as they need to be, either hip distance apart or perhaps a little wider. Then you're going to tuck your chin to your chest. And you're going to push down through those forearms so much that you can curl under and look at your own pubic bone. So round the spine so much to look at your own pubic bone. You might round under so much that you can push the floor away like the Hulk and the Hulk-S. Yeah, there you go. And you might lift the tops of the thighs up and away from the floor. Now, again, that breath pattern is going to become so super important here. So inhale into the heart, up, down, right, left, front, back, and then exhale from pelvis all the way back up. And the more you can push down through those forearms, elbows, you're happy. Yep, inner armpits can lift up and you're looking at your pubic bone, maybe now back to your knees, maybe even down to your toes, but you're rounding in that upper spine. You're pushing the floor away for dear life. Bye-bye, floor. There you go. And you're breathing as the body shakes, and you're breathing as the body shakes, and you're breathing as the body shakes. Sometimes self-love is staying with yourself, even through the wobbles, even through the shakes, even through the things that sometimes are a little bit disorienting. You've got another 3 steady breath cycles here. For these last ones, you might lift the knees up and away from the floor if that's working for you, but you're still focusing on tailbone curling up, pushing the floor away, rounding into the upper spine. Last 2 breath cycles. Happy days. The end of your next exhalation, lower all the way down to the mat. That was crazy and fun. Or not. Bring one ear to the mat, bring the other ear to the mat. This is your reprieve, so I encourage you to take it. Maybe you've had one ear to the mat, go ahead and draw the other ear to the mat. And you're just pausing, you're just breathing, you're noticing what you notice. You haven't done this much core work in a really long time. Hopefully it will help with where we're headed. All right, bring your hands back alongside your hips. Palms alongside your hips, so down a little lower. Fingertips face back, palms face down. Yep. And then separate your feet about hip distance apart. Just as we did before, you're going to press into the tops of the toenails. You're going to lengthen your tailbone back. Yep. And then lengthen or lift up through those inner kneecaps. From here, oh, actually, I lied. Bring your hands back forward. Sorry. Little cobra. Yep. Now from here, you're going to draw your shoulders up towards your ears, your shoulder blades onto your back. Imagine you're squeezing that beach ball, then lift your heart forward to come up. Pause. Same as we did before. The breath comes into the heart. It goes up, back, front, left, right, left, all those things. And then exhale the pelvis. The energy comes from the pelvis back up. And we're going to stay here for about a minute. So you're reaching into the heart by sending the breath there. Our prana, our breath, our vitality, our life force, we want to send it into our hearts so our hearts can be open, so that we can be whoever we wish to be, that we can live our purpose. And we're going to see if we can keep spinning those pinky toes down to the floor to lift up through those inner happy hamstrings as you lengthen your tailbone back. You've got 2 more breath cycles with this variation. Continue to hug the outer shoulders in towards the back, the outer elbows in. Awesome sauce. If this is working for you, you stay here for this next minute hold. Otherwise, you'll bend both knees. You'll reach around and grab the outside edges of both ankles, and you'll inhale, kick back by lengthening back through the tailbone. And so this is our last minute hold. And again, if you're breathing into the heart, it will allow you to create space in the front body, the back body, and the pelvis is hugging in and up. And you're noticing how the breath changes drastically here. The feet are still active. The hamstrings are curling in. The toes are pushing back. You've got 4 more steady breath cycles here. Notice the shakes. Notice the wobbles. Self-love is staying consistent, persistent with it. Nice job. 2 more breath cycles here, guys. You're doing real great. Last one. Awesome sauce. Lower all the way down and release. 1 ear to the mat and pause. Come into complete stillness and just notice the energy in the body. Notice the energy in the body. Great. Bring the other ear to the mat. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. What's present and alive and alert for you? A lot of yogic teachings talk about peeling away the layers that are not us, peeling that onion. And that's, I think, all that we're doing in our various ways. We're trying to use different forms, different tactics of how to love ourselves so that the best of us can shine forth, can come forth. All right, let's move on. Go ahead and bring your hands alongside your lowest ribs. Go ahead and tuck both sets of toes under. Your legs can be straight, the legs can be bent, but you're going to come through a plank or modified plank and make your way back to downward facing dog. And this down dog we're going to hold for a bit. So I encourage you to come and find first stability in the shape. So let's press down through the L shape of your hands. Lift up through your inner armpits and send your inner thighs back. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. Can you come back to that steady breath that we started with? So it's inhaling into heart, up, down, and then from the pelvis back up. And in this position in particular, if you just focus on the extension that's happening through the spine, meaning the up down point, you'll find it really allows a lot of space to come into the belly. So when that breath travels back up, you might feel your abdomen working quite a bit. And from a tantric perspective, the abdomen is the home of Rudrani. Rudrani is the Kundalini nurturing energy that lives in our navel. It's said that this energy is really responsible for transformation. It's responsible for healing, for love, for growth. It's that energy that we wish to cultivate as we go forward into our lives. So you've got about another minute or so. So you're just going to see if you can continue to feed that energy. So you breathe into the heart, up, down, right, left, front, back, and exhale from the pelvis back up. Nice job, guys. You got about 4 more breath cycles. Let the breath still stay steady. Let it stay even. Great. Last 2 breaths. Awesome sauce. At the end of your next exhale, lower your knees to the mat and pause. Just sit on your shins for a moment. And you're just going to notice how all the energy is moving through your body. Okay. Now, before we do our last thing, we're going to do a toe squat for a moment, just a minute. And then we're going to stand up and see how our final balancing pose will go. So go ahead and sit back up, tuck both sets of toes under, and just sit as tall as you can in the spine. Eyes can be closed, gaze can be inward. And you're just going to sit here and you're going to breathe. Again, we're breathing into the heart, sending the energy in all directions. And then we're drawing the energy from the pelvis back up. How steady and consistent can you remain with our breath? I think the biggest form of self-love, which isn't always lovely, is remaining in tune with what it is that we intuitively know, what it is that we intuitively feel. Sometimes it doesn't feel lovely because it sometimes can feel like it creates conflict. But I genuinely think that the overall larger part of life is about us becoming fully human in whatever way that means to us. All right. The eyes can start to open. If they've closed, you can shift your weight forward, pitter patter the tops of the toes, and or take a counter stretch if that suits you. But again, you're just going to observe and breathe. Okay. And then we'll try the piece de resistance. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so we're going to make our way up to stand, and we'll see how this final balancing pose goes. And we've got options. So if you're like, yeah, Jessica, I'm done. I don't want to do that. We'll just go ahead and stand up. So start by shifting all of your weight onto your right leg. Hands will come to hips. I encourage you to keep your hands on your hips. You do whatever the hell works for you. But we're going to keep our hands on our hips. And then you're going to lift your left leg up, flex through this left foot. And the first option is to stay right here, and you're just hugging that left knee as close to your chest as possible, slight bend in that right knee. And you might happily stay here, heart stays open, breathing in, up, down, right, left, all that. You might then start to hinge forward and kick your left leg back. Keep your right knee, bottom leg bent so the hips can stay square to the floor. And we're gonna hold this for about a minute. And you're just gonna pause and you're gonna breathe. Make sure those left toes are pointing towards the floor. Left hip is angled towards the floor. And you're gonna pause and you're gonna breathe. And I encourage you, the more that you can breathe into your heart, into the pelvis, it will create the length for you to find that. And then the more that you can exhale and draw the energy from the pelvis straight back up, the more that this will become a little bit more stable. And that right leg is going to wobble. That's okay. That's part of it. How do you love yourself through the wobbles, through the struggles? It's all good. You've got 3 more breath cycles here. And if you wobble and come out, how do you come back in? Yep, that's an act of self-love too. Great. Last 2 breaths. Last breath. Are you still breathing? Next in breath, go ahead and come back up. Release your left foot to the floor and just pause and breathe. I bet you were holding your breath a crap ton through that. And so the energy is now like, where is it? So see if you can stabilize, see if you can regulate. Sometimes self-love is powering through things, and sometimes it's telling yourself it's okay and I'm going to come back. And we do have the other side to do, and you've got options, so you can do whatever works best for you. Okay, let's switch all our weight onto our left leg. Hands to hips, highly encouraged, flex through that right leg. And you're using your core muscles to draw that right leg up. And you might just stay here in balance. You might start to bend that left leg a little bit more as you hinge forward at your hips and start to kick your right leg back, keeping the right toe squared towards the floor, shoulder blades on the back, squeezing your right glute, toes pointing down. And again, the more that you can breathe from your head to your butt, and then from the pelvis towards the heart, the easier this will become. Not that it will suddenly become yummy rainbows or anything, but it will become more manageable. Sometimes that love is that complicated conversation we have to have. Sometimes it's persevering through something that we'd rather say bye-bye to. And you're just seeing if you can breathe. You've got 2 more steady breath cycles here. You're doing great. Shakes are okay. Wobbles are okay. It's all okay. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll take a big breath in and come all the way up. You'll release that foot to the floor. And then you'll notice what you notice. Do you need to shake? Do you need to wobble? Can you just be still and notice what it feels like to be in your body? And then very gently, you're going to hinge at your hips, fold forward, plant your palms, step back, hands and knees. Come into child's pose with your hands alongside your hips. And the knees are as wide or as narrow as they wish to be, but you're going to just pause and you're just going to breathe. And again, that breath comes back into your heart. So we're starting into the heart, breathing in to the heart, up, down, right, left, front, back. And then you're drawing that energy from the pelvis back up, and you're noticing what that feels like here. And you just pause and you just breathe. What is self-love for you in this moment? And remember that it doesn't always have to look a particular way. It doesn't always have to be lovely or yummy or any of those things. It's a lot more nuanced than what Hallmark makes it out to be. I mean, I think all of us know that some of the people that we love the most pisses off more than anybody else. And if love was only the pleasant feelings, I think we'd all be in a little bit of trouble. All right, you got about 3 more breath cycles here. Notice how the breath has changed. Is it quieter? Can you still find that pattern of your prana meeting apana? So we're working with the vayus. Dhyana is the one that's moving it around, but prana is what's coming into your heart and up into the head. Apana is what's in your pelvis, and dhyana is what's moving it all around. All right, if the hands are back, draw the hands underneath the shoulders. Start to press yourself up to sit as you roll up your spine. And then you're going to swing your legs around and put your butt on the floor. Then we're going to take figure 4. So both legs in front of us. If you need to sit on a blanket, by all means do that. Otherwise not. Let's go ahead and start with our left leg across it over. And then you're going to press down and walk your pelvis closer to that right foot. And we're going to flex through that left foot a lot. If that's working for you, you stay there. Otherwise, you can take Agni Stambhasana if your legs and hips wish to do that. But we're going to stay here for 2 minutes. And if you are taking Agni Stambhasana, make sure that that right leg comes forward so it's underneath your left knee. And then you're going to sit as tall as you can. If you're in figure 4, heart is up. And if you're in Agni, you can start to walk forward if that feels suitable and appropriate to you. But you're paying attention to where the sensation is going into that left hip. So we send the energy first still into heart, up, down, right, left, front, back. And then from the pelvis, it draws back up. It's still going to be our main activating thing. We're just focusing on that for today. Laura, see if you can keep your heart open. Yep, so maybe push down into your left hand for me just a little bit more. Okay. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. Jenny, press out through your left big toe a little bit more. Yep. Okay. We've got 3 more breath cycles here. Last one, big steady breaths. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll slowly walk yourself up if you're folded forward. If you're crossed with that left leg, you'll release the left leg and just extend both legs long in front of you and sit for a moment in Dandasana. And again, we're going to see if we can breathe into heart. So heart goes up, down, right, left, front, back. Pelvis is drawing up. I'm just noticing what that feels like. Eyes can be soft, they can be closed. It's totally up to you, but you're just checking in. You're seeing how things are. Yeah. And then as we're ready, we'll go ahead and switch sides. So both hands come back behind you, both knees bent, plant feet on the floor, and then cross your right ankle over your left thigh. And you'll flex through that right foot a lot. And you might stay here happy as clam, heart stays open, shoulder blades hug onto back. You might draw that outer left shin bone to the floor, making sure right foot sort of angles off, left foot is underneath right knee. And you're going to pause and you're going to breathe. And the more you can press your left knee into your right ankle into your left knee, the more that will help. Laura, press out into your right big toe for me a little bit more. Just the big toe, yep. And pull your 4th and 5th toes back. Haha, there you go. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And my Agni people, if you want to walk forward, by all means, do that. And then Julie, activate your top foot. So your left foot, yep. So press out through your big toe mound a little bit more. There you go. Well, Julie, you're on the other leg. Okay. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And you're just noticing, can you still send that breath in this pattern? And it might have felt that this breathing pattern was a little bit hard at the beginning, and it might feel a little bit more comfortable now, to the point that you might not be noticing it as much, or you might be noticing it even more. Sometimes self-love is checking out for a moment, and sometimes it's checking back in. So noticing what you need at this moment. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. And you're just noticing what you notice, where you can soften. Okay. Agni people, you'll start to walk your hands back. Figure four people, shift your weight back. Everyone extend both legs long, both legs in front of you. And then we're just going to take Paschimottanasana. So if you want to elevate your pelvis on a blanket, by all means, please do that. And then if legs can be straight and strong, great. If the knees need to be bent, that works too. But you're going to have your hands alongside your hips. Tilt your sacrum forward, pelvis forward. So you're like making a 45-degree angle. And then you might start to walk your hands forward. You might grab the soles of your feet. You might have your head drip towards your knees. It might touch, it might not. It's totally up to you. Blocks are great. Yes, they are. And you're just going to pause and we're going to breathe here for a bit of time. And again, your awareness is sending the breath into the heart, letting the heart expand, letting it open, and then cultivating that strength from the base and drawing it back up into the heart to feed the heart, to support the heart opening. I can't speak for you, but I do know that for many of us, our hearts were quite open when we were little babies and children, and then something happened where they needed to close. But as we come back into being our full selves, however we perceive that to be, it requires both that openness, but it also requires that strength, that stability. So if you're here for this last minute, you're just going to notice where you can soften, where you can let go, and then where you might need to stabilize. Maybe it's in the legs, maybe them being more active helps. Maybe you can soften some tension around the arms and the neck and the jaw. And you're just letting breath come. You've got your last 3 breath cycles here. Awesome. Sauce. At the end of your next exhale, you'll gently release the hands and walk your spine back up. And then you'll slowly make your way onto your backs. So you guys can turn around if you want or not. It's totally up to you. We're going to do a bridge pose, but you're going to lay down here for a moment. So might want to have a block somewhere handy by. Oh wait, you probably want your block. There you go. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. How does it feel in this orientation? How are you able to let the heart be supported literally by the floor and yet remain open because it is supported by the floor? Awesome sauce. Okay, last few shapes. Go ahead and grab one of your blocks, slide it in between your shin bones, thigh bones, whatever, on first or second setting. And then you'll walk your feet in so they're hip distance apart. From here, bring your hands alongside your hips, and some of you will just bend your elbows and be little robots. Some of you will just walk your shoulder blades underneath you, and then we'll all press down through our feet, push down through our arms, lift up through our hips. Some of you will stay there. Some of you will interlace the hands underneath you, but we're going to be here for about 2 minutes. And so you're going to push down into the floor wherever you're making contact, noticing that you can soften your toes so they're not clutching you up for dear life, but you're hugging into that block so the big toe mounds press in. Roberta, come down. Your feet are not even. Oh, there you go. And then you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And you're just going to keep hugging into that happy squeezing block thing between your thighs, pressing down through the feet. And again, this is a great place for you to breathe into that heart, going up, down, front, back, right, left, and then drawing from the pelvis back up towards the heart. You're just pausing and you're breathing. And you're noticing what you notice. Let the breath be calm. Let the breath be steady. Got about one more minute. Keep hugging your block. Keep steadying the breath. Last 3 breath cycles here. Last breath cycle here. At the end of your exhalation, you'll unclasp your hands, untuck your shoulders, bring your pelvis back to the floor, and pause. And pause. And pause. And you'll just be still and you'll notice what you notice now. Where is the energy most alive and active and alert for you here? Great. Okay, let's go ahead and remove that block. And then we will do one supine twist of your choice towards your right. So you're going to pick whichever one you wish to do, but we're going to hold that for a minute. So the legs are going to the right. You might do figure 4 twist. You might do a single leg twist. You might do an eagle twist. You might do that IT band twist. You're doing whatever twist you want to, but the legs are going to the right. And you're going to see if you can remain in that shape for about a minute and just breathe wherever the breath wishes to go. You're just going to notice the breath. How are you doing right here, right now? Can you still keep that same breath pattern? You've got one more breath cycle here. At the end of your exhalation, you'll gently come back onto your back, back to center. Take a moment to pause and just notice what you notice between the sides. And then as you feel ready, we'll enter into the left. And again, you might choose to take the exact same thing on the other side. It might feel better to do something different. It's very interesting how notions of love do change and develop as we mature, as relationships themselves mature. And we're just giving ourselves permission to experience that, even with ourselves. We are the longest relationship any of us will ever have. And so, how can we allow ourselves the space, the time, the awareness to let that the way in which we show up and love ourselves shift and change? How can we let that grow and evolve to suit the people that we are in any given moment, as well as the people we aspire to be? You've got 3 more breath cycles here. Then the end of your 3rd exhalation, you take a big breath in and you'll roll back onto your backs. And then from here, just widen your feet outside of your hips, let your knees knock in. And you might wrap your arms around your torso to give yourself a hug. And you'll just take a moment to check in here to see if there's any final shape or shapes you would like to do before we make our way to our final resting pose. And for today, I would encourage Shavasana to be either Shavasana or Supta Baddha Konasana, but you choose whatever works best for you. And if and when you're ready, you'll make your way to that final shape. If there's something else that feels like it might feel super awesome to your body at this moment in time. By all means, go ahead and do that. But you're giving yourself permission to just take care of you. Great. And as we each make our way to our final resting shape, or if you're still in movement, you still move around. But when you do start to make your way there, I encourage you to take the opportunity to really set yourselves up well. So sometimes that means literally pushing away things that feel like they're in our immediate space. I don't know why, but it's almost like subconsciously you feel like they're encroaching on you. And then you might find that you want to wiggle around from right to left to make sure that you're as balanced between the sides as you can be. And then for today, Shavasana will be very simple. I just want you to pay attention to sensation in the body. Notice as Notice it as it arises, as it comes to your awareness. Be with it as it does whatever it does. And then watch it as it dissipates and disappears. And you'll just continue to watch sensation. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Gently return your awareness to your breath. And as you take this opportunity to check in with your breath, just notice what you notice. You'll start to invite in small, gentle, nurturing movement in whatever way feels good to you. And if you're completely at peace as you are, please stay where you're at for a while longer. As you're ready, you'll start to make your way over to your right side. And when you get to the right side, just pause there for a moment. From there, you'll slowly roll your chest more towards the floor, press into your left hand, release your right, and draw yourself to a tall seat facing the top of your space. And I do encourage you to sit on something, block or blanket. I'm going to end with just a little bit of pranayama. And once we're elevated, take the first few moments to really situate yourself. So if you need to remove buttocks flesh, go ahead and do that. And then we'll start by turning both palms to face up. On your left hand, tuck your index finger or touch your index finger and ring finger to touch. That hand can then go ahead and face down towards the floor. And then your right hand will come towards your face. Thumb rest on the ring or pinky, whatever, your nose. And the pinky finger and the ring finger rest on the left nostril. Middle finger and index finger either on forehead or tucked in. But you'll gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Close the right nostril, inhale through the left as slowly as possible. Top of your inhalation, you'll close your left and exhale out through your right as slowly as possible. When you need to draw the breath in, you'll draw it back in through the right. And then at the top of the inhalation, you'll close the right and exhale out through the left as slowly as possible. And you'll take a few more sets like this on your own, and you're just noticing how slow, how smooth, how even and easy the breath can be. As you continue to work with the breath, you might still notice that you can work with the breath that we were working with through our practice in a very subtle way. So it inhales in the heart, up, down, and from the pelvis, it comes back up as you exhale. And you're noticing that as you continue to work with this breath, as the breath continues to elongate, it continues to deepen. There are parts that you can let go of. There are parts that you can soften in the physical body, in the breath, in the mental body. Complete the breath cycle that you're on. And then the next time the breath exits slowly through the left, you'll lower your right hand. When the right hand does lower, just notice where the breath is in the nose, feeling the sensation as it enters and as it exits. Noticing if the breath wishes to go up towards your third eye as you breathe in, or if it wishes to reside in your heart. Either is okay. You're just noticing where the breath goes. You're following it where it wishes to go. And you'll let your awareness slowly be drawn to that part, wherever the breath is being drawn, either forehead or heart center. And you'll just breathe into that space. Sometimes self love is really following our inner impulses, instincts, even though they may not necessarily make sense, may not be where we would guide or direct it. Now, for these last few moments, I'd like you to just notice the quietness in the brain, quietness in the mind. Notice the energy in the heart. And from this quiet space, I encourage you to just pose a very simple question to yourself. What is it that I am needing? And you'll just listen. Our highest self or intuition, my teacher says, speaks very succinctly and without a lot of fanfare. So you just listen to whatever comes up. And then the next question to listen to is, what stands in my way? What obstacles am I facing? And again, you just listen. The answer will be short, most likely, and very clear. And if it's not, you just relax a little bit more and it will come in time. And then the last question is, what is it that I need to overcome my obstacle, my resistance? And again, you're just listening very deep. The answer will be very clear, very concise. We'll go ahead and end our practice by bringing our hands to heart center Anjali Mudra. Taking a moment to just press the palms into each other, receive the weight of the thumbs, and then lift your heart up. Soften your chin towards your chest and just say an internal prayer of gratitude to that part of you that loves and guides you through all things. We'll go ahead and complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Go ahead and exhale all your breath. Take a big breath in. Audible exhale. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. To that light, to that love, to that breath, we bow. Namaste. Awesome.